Hello everyone, welcome to Barat Ministries again. Today we're moving on with the Sermon on the Mount. I hope you've been catching up. Please, if you haven't, go back again on the videos. Last week we had a powerful one, blessed are the peacemakers. So today we're moving on to blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. So straight away I'm going to turn to Maurice. Please, let's move on with this topic today. Thank you.
Hello everyone, we've got another interesting study. This is beatitude number 8. Let me quickly go through them. Matthew chapter 5. It's good to read them with us. This is the character of God. We finished it last week with the peacemakers. So this is the character of God. The poor in spirit, the humble, they that mourn. Christians need to learn how to grieve. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, after living a right life. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart. And then last week, and this is the culmination of the Sermon on the Mount, to be a peacemaker, because Jesus came to make peace between God and man. So that's the ministry of reconciliation that we've all been given, to be a peacemaker. That means that the character is complete. But there's 2 more beatitudes, and they're not to do with character. I will argue that these are the consequences of having the character. You know, you have the character of God, and then what happens? Well, you're a blessed person when you have the character, but you're a blessed person when you also have the consequences. And the consequences are not nice, because when you're like Jesus, then what happened to Jesus will happen to us. Misunderstanding, persecution, false accusation. And so let me read them. There's 2 beatitudes. We'll just look at the first one this week. So this is verse 10, Matthew 5. Blessed. So this means God favoured. You're in the right place. God's pleased with you. When you're persecuted for righteousness' sake, yours is the kingdom of heaven. And then the next one we'll look at next week. Blessed are you when men shall revile you, persecute you, and say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So that's interesting, Joseph.
Absolutely. Straight away from verse 10, the one we're studying today, just think about a normal, if I should say, if there's such a thing as a normal Christian. You're telling them that they are blessed if they are persecuted. For them, it doesn't make sense, because persecution means pain. It means injustices being committed. It means it's not fair.
Difficulties,
Difficulties. And then you say, God says that person is blessed. Brother, you're going to have some explanations to give to us.
Because I'm not saying it. I'm telling you what, this is Jesus Christ, not Peter or Paul. This is Jesus. He's the one we're supposed to be following. And he said you're a blessed person when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake. Discipleship, you can't separate it from persecution, Joseph. That's why so few disciples, it's a narrow gate. Few find it because they won't pay the price. They want God to meet all the needs. They want God to give them a happy life. They want God to bless them, keep the devil away, keep bad people away, and have a nice life. But we're not called to have a nice life.
So we can't have our best life now.
No. It's impossible. That's a lie. I'm waiting for my best life. I've got 1,000 years best life coming. But now we're following Jesus. So Jesus said, if they obey my words, they'll obey yours. If they persecuted me, they'll persecute you. If we preach what Jesus preached, why wouldn't we get different results?
This is good. If we preach what Jesus preached, that is so important for me.
Why would we get a different result? If you've done what you've always done, you get the results you always get. So if we preach the same as Jesus, he got persecution, misunderstanding, pain, grief. Why would we expect anything else? Jesus said, is the disciple better than his master? If they've called the master of the house Beelzebub, Satan, what will they call those who are following him?
Yeah, there's a twisted version. They think because Jesus suffered, we don't have to suffer anymore.
Yeah. He suffered for sin, not so we wouldn't suffer.
Wow.
He promised, in this world you will have persecution, tribulation. He said, don't worry, I've overcome the world. We've got 1,000 years. Peace, reign with him. It's a good deal. A little pain now, a long time of blessing, peace, security, prosperity.
Hallelujah.
If you want a little bit, 70 years of peace, prosperity, no problems. Well, God bless you, but you'll miss the millennium. You can't have your cake and your halfpenny.
Unbelievable.
So it's up to you what you want. So it's interesting, Joseph, because I don't think people realise it.
No.
The very first beatitude says, blessed are the humble. Remember, that's the entrance.
Yes.
Yours is the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Now we've come full cycle.
Yes.
We've got the character, and he says, blessed are you which are persecuted, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. It's exactly the same promise. In other words, you're in the kingdom.
Yes.
If you humble yourself and start the journey,
That's
yours
the
is the
entrance.
kingdom. That's the entrance. Here's the completion. When you're willing to suffer for Christ, you seal your fate. Yours is the kingdom.
This is where you're standing out. You're standing, but doing the right things. Not because people applaud you. You're doing the right things in the sight of God.
Yeah.
You walk in righteousness. And this is it. So now people begin to talk against you, or many things begin to happen to you, and you think it's not fair.
Yeah, we become what we talked about, that peculiar people. We're in the minority. You're peculiar. What's up with you? Why do you rejoice when people curse you? Why do you bless them when they curse you? Why don't you get revenge?
Wow.
You know, you're a Christian, but you're not a doormat. Why do you let people abuse you? Why do you? Well, because we're becoming peculiar like Jesus was.
Yes.
When he was reviled, he reviled not again.
Yes.
So it's very interesting. Well, there must be a difference between the first two Beatitudes. One is persecuted for righteousness' sake. Well, I'm going to hopefully show that this is because we live in a right life.
Yes.
Remember, righteousness was living a right life.
Yes.
We're not talking about the righteousness by faith.
Yes.
That's for salvation. We're
The
saying,
one that we get from Christ. Imputed righteousness.
Yeah. So we've got that 100%.
Yes.
This is about, blessed are you persecuted because you live in a right life.
Yes.
Christians live a wrong life. They live like the world, so they get no persecution. If you live like the world, they'll pat you on the back.
Yes.
Well, he's a Christian, I'm a Hindu, he's a atheist. That's your thing, do it. But when you're peculiar, when you're different than the world, then the world will actually admire you and the church will persecute you. I'm going to show that this first persecution is all from God's people, not the world.
All right. That's a major difference.
Major difference.
Yes.
When you become like Jesus, people like you. The sinners love Jesus. The common people love Jesus. It was the religious, God's people who crucified Jesus. He fed 5,000. Why would they not hate him? They loved him. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. He had compassion. The world, when you're a holy person, the world will love you, but the church will persecute you because you're a thorn in the side. You challenge them. Holiness frightens Christians.
First.
Jesus was holy, which means you're different like God. And the Pharisees didn't like it. They didn't like it, no.
Yeah, because for me, it's really, you wouldn't expect that from the people who's supposed to be walking in love with you. Supposed to be walking in spirit. Those people that you think you together as a family.
They should bless you, but they curse you. They're the very ones who should say, good for you, go for it. But they're the ones who criticise you because it challenges them.
Yes.
The Pharisees were challenged.
Yes.
Because he exposed their hypocrisy. See, the church is full of hypocrisy. They don't realise it, but they're full of hypocrisy. They preach faith, but they can't live it. There's so many things that they talk that they're not living. They talk about holiness, but they're not willing to be separate from the world. So when somebody is different, when somebody does live by faith, it challenges Christians. The world say, wonderful, good on you. I've had the world praise me.
I recognise that.
The insurance man, when I said I had no insurance, I've got peace of mind. Why should I pay you for peace of mind? I've got it. He didn't fall on the floor laughing. He said, wow, I wish I could live like that. Yeah. So I provoked him.
He did more real.
He saw a reality. He knew that I actually trusted God. But when I tell the Christians I've no insurance, oh, well, God's give you a brain, You're not stupid. God expects you to use your brain. So let's go through it and we'll see. So this persecution is because, first of all, we're chosen by God. And because we live in a holy life, God's favour is upon us. When you're a disciple, God's favour is upon you, his blessings upon you. You get persecutions, but people don't like God to bless you when you're not the same as them. They want you to God to bless you when they're like them, like the world. When you stand out differently, it provokes them, it challenges them. So let's start looking at the Bible, because it's not our opinions, is it? No, that matter. Never. It's what Jesus said. So this is Jesus himself, John 15. John 15. See, the church can call people. You need Jesus, put your hand up. Okay, say the sinner's prayer. Now you're saved. So the church has made that person a Christian. Maybe their life's been transformed by the power of God. Maybe not. Maybe they've learned to be a Christian. Go through the converts class, get baptised. They learn all the church doctrines.
Go to the Alpha course.
So they've learnt it. But that doesn't mean they're saved and the life of Christ is in them. They've got to bear fruit. For me, if somebody says, I'm a Christian, I've given my life to Christ, I don't believe them. I don't not believe them. I say, I'll watch.
Yes.
See if there's any fruit. You say you're a Christian, I'll see. If Jesus is in your life, you will change. You'll become more like Jesus.
Absolutely.
Slowly.
Yes.
Because growth is slow.
Yes.
Naturally, spiritually. Yes. But I have to see growth. If my little baby doesn't grow, there's a problem.
Yes. There's not being fed right.
There's something wrong. They've got to grow. So this is persecution because God has chosen you and now you are living a right life. So this is John chapter 15 and verse 16. Jesus said to his disciples, you've not chosen me, but I've chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit. That's fruit is the life of Christ. Yes. You've got to change. You've got to produce fruit, the life of Christ, because we're connected to the vine. That whatsoever you ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. And 2 Timothy chapter 3. This is Paul talking to a young minister, trying to educate him. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 10. I believe that our doctrine is not proof texts or church dogma doctrine, but it's lifestyle.
It's lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because so we are an open book.
It's not what we say, it's how we live.
Yes.
That's our teaching.
Yes.
That's why Paul said, follow me like I'm following Christ. Don't just look at what I say, look at how I live.
Yes.
So here he's telling them about his doctrine. And he said, you have fully known my doctrine, my teaching, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, compassion, charity, patience, persecutions. These are the signs of an apostle. These are the signs of a real Christian. This is our doctrine. He said, you've known my doctrine, then he lists it.
So doctrine is not what we believe. Doctrine is how we
live.
Come on now.
This is our teaching.
Yes.
That's why you've got, if people say, well, what's God like? Say, come and live with me.
Yes.
Come and live with me. You'll see Christ in my life. I'm not perfect, but if you see the way I treat my wife, the way I treat my children, what happens when I'm driving the car and somebody cuts in front of me? Do I curse him? Do I get road rage? Or do I say, well, Lord bless him, maybe he's having a bad day?
Yeah.
You know.
He went without a sandwich.
He's sent out with a thick ear and no sandwich by his wife, So persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, Iconium, Lystra. So He's talking about a few persecutions in a few towns. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Lord delivered me. I've come through them. It's okay. Yes, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. All. It doesn't say some. It doesn't say just the apostles, the chosen.
Yes.
All.
Wow.
So, because we're following Jesus, we're following Paul, we're following Peter, they were all martyred. The church has gone soft. There's no backbone in the church. Yeah. They want a nice life. The corona comes and we can't even...
They're panicking. Everybody's panicking.
Oh, come Lord, quickly. What will they do when real persecution comes?
Honestly,
if this is persecution, I can laugh at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I almost believe, I don't know, but I mean, I know as we do this work, I believe it's like the opportunities to preach the gospel are even multiple.
Of course.
Maurice, we can preach the gospel from a telephone. You can preach the gospel to the world. People are hearing the gospel like they never heard before. Yeah. So there's no need to panic.
No.
It's just changing our thinking.
Yeah.
And I just believe Christians don't believe they have to suffer. I don't know why. What kind of gospel is that? Who are we following?
It's another gospel. And Paul said that even if an angel preached another gospel, let him be cursed.
Yes.
It's another gospel. Because we're talking about Jesus, what Jesus said. The very character of Christ, the consequence of a holy life is always misunderstanding, persecution. You know, if you're part of the crowd, they will pat you on the back. It's when you're different that it challenges them. Why aren't you like us?
Yeah. Why is it like this? Why is it like the children of so-called the children of God or the congregation of Israel or the church? Why is it that we always seems to have a problem with those who are standing out? I know you said because you become a challenge.
It's a challenge
to the established religious.
Yeah, it's a thorn in the side because you're a heretic. Because that's the definition of heresy, when you don't agree with the orthodox.
Yeah.
So as soon as you disagree, that's heresy.
Because I remember they said to Jesus, we have our law, and by our law you have to die.
Yeah.
If Jesus was to come today, I think the church would say, look, this is what we believe.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Honestly.
If Jesus walked in the church to speak, they would say, hold on a minute, we have to have the collection first and the announcements, and we have an item, we've got this man come 50 miles to sing. So, can you wait, Jesus? I don't think they'd recognise him. No. Because Israel didn't recognise him. God's people didn't recognise Jesus when he came. Why do we think we're so superior?
Yeah.
Most Christians will miss the second coming. They won't be ready because most of Israel missed his first coming. Only a few. Anna in the temple, she was fasting, praying. Zachariah,
Simeon.
They were waiting for the restoration. John the Baptist preparing the way. But most of Israel didn't recognise it. They're still Israel is still waiting for Jesus to come, and it's already been. They're right to wait for him, but it's the second coming. So if God's people miss the first coming, why do we think that God's people will not miss his second coming? Yeah. There's only a remnant. That's why Jesus warned us, because he knows what human minds are like.
It's just my worry about it is that in his second coming, I think we said grace will end, because at least Israel, Zechariah 12, they will look upon him that they pierced, and they will kind of be a look back and they will go, oh, wow, so it was him. But I worry about the church. You have to be, the bride has to make herself ready.
Yes.
We can't afford to miss him, honestly. No. We can't afford to miss him. So let's do it. Let's do it, brother.
Yeah.
We can't afford to miss him.
This false accusation, it's because of envy.
All right.
I believe it's because of envy. They're not criticising us and telling us we're evil people. That's the next one, when they revile you and say all bad things about. They don't say bad things about us. It's because of envy. Yeah,
for righteousness' sake, you becoming the light.
Because we've been living right.
Yes.
It provokes them to. Yes. Not jealousy, but envy. I need to say that jealousy is always good in the Bible. It's never wrong. God is a jealous God. I'm jealous of my wife. So all you men out there, keep away from my wife. I'm jealous of her. I'm jealous of my children. That's a godly thing. envy is wrong. I envy the man next door because he has a bigger car. It's not jealousy, it's envy.
Yeah.
We use the words interchangeable, but in the Bible they're never interchangeable. Envy is always bad in the Bible.
Yeah.
Jealousy is always good.
Envy is like covetousness, right?
Yeah.
You want something that you don't.
It's covetousness,
Yeah.
you envy.
Yeah.
Jealousy is because of love.
It's godly jealousy, yeah.
God loves us, so he's jealous of us.
Yes.
I love my wife, I'm jealous of her. I love my children, I'm jealous of them. I'll protect them.
All right.
Envy is because of hate. I hate the man next door. His wife's better looking than my wife. I hate the man next door. I don't think I hate him, but I don't like him. I'm envious. He's got a better job than me. His garden is nicer than mine.
Yeah.
He's got more money than me. So it's really because of hate. So envy, the root is hate. Yeah. Jealousy, the root is love. So it's important that you separate the two.
Absolutely. And you can see, how we study blessed the pure in heart, they shall see God. Now, if we're progressing in the Beatitudes, this should have been dealt with.
Yeah.
The heart issues would have been dealt with so we can see God in everybody, in everything.
Yeah.
But right now, if we're still carrying that, that's what I like about the Sermon on Mount. It just exposes everything.
Yeah.
Nothing left unturned.
If we don't deal with the heart, then we get envious of other people. Instead of saying, well done. I mean, if the man next door has got a Rolls Royce, why aren't I pleased and say, well done, good on you?
Because we're not pure in heart.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, why haven't I got one?
Yes.
I work harder than him. Why has he got? So it's a little bit of hate.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at some examples in the Bible and show when holy people were persecuted, it was always because of envy. And it uses the word envy, not jealousy. So the first one is Joseph with his brothers. We're going right back to Genesis 37.
The dreamer.
So it's very interesting. If you look up the word envy in the Bible, you'll find it all over, and it's always because of the same hate inside. Verse 3, Genesis 37. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age and made him a coat of many colours. Now, his brothers, who were all a lot older than him, Joseph was the son of his old age. Those brothers, when his father loved little Joseph, they should have said, isn't that nice? How father blesses him. They should have also wanted to bless him. Yeah. But they were envious. Yeah. And they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him.
Wow.
They couldn't be peacemakers. The heart hadn't been dealt with. And Joseph dreamed some dreams, we know, and he told his father and brethren, verse 10, and he told it to his father, to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream you've dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to you, to the earth? And his brethren envied him. But his father observed the sin. So it was envy. And we know they tried to kill him, put him down the pit, then they sold him as a slave. But it clearly says it was envy. Now they're his own brothers. So this comes, every example, it comes from the family, from the family of God or your personal brothers. So these were his own brothers who should have loved him and said, that's wonderful. Yes. But they envied him. They're full of envy. David. 1 Samuel 18. So David had killed Goliath and now he was working for Saul. And Saul had given David his daughter to wife. So Saul was David's father-in-law. Verse 6, and it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women came out of all the cities singing and dancing to meet King Saul. They didn't come to meet David, they came to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. And as soon as Saul heard that, envy filled his heart. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they've ascribed but thousands. What more can he have than the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day forward. He thought, wow, he's after the throne.
Yeah.
But it was his son-in-law. He should have been pleased, you know, because...
It says viewed with suspicion. He eyed him. He was suspicious.
I'll keep my eye on him. He's after the kingdom.
David didn't write a song. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Son-in-law.
Yeah. My father taught me that when everyone criticises you, persecutes you, it's two motives.
Yeah.
Envy or ambition.
Mm.
And he envied him. Actually, if my children, you know, all right, I'm a street cleaner. I'm just a common man. I'm a street cleaner. And I have two children. And one becomes a lawyer. One becomes a brain surgeon. Am I envious of them? Should I not say, wow. That's... because it's a feather in my cap. It's my children, so I'm pleased with them. Fancy being envious of your own children. Oh, they've gone to university. Well, I never had the chance to go to university. I was poor. Well, why feel sorry for yourself because your children are better than you? It's silly.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So Saul should have been pleased that David, his son-in-law, was getting all the praise, but it was envy. And 1 Samuel 24. Verse 16. I just want to show that envy is something that eats you up inside.
Yes.
It never stops. It actually is the root of murder.
Yes. Okay.
Because in the end, Saul tried to murder David.
Yeah.
It eats away at you. So I'll read the story, verse 16. And it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, Saul was going to the toilet. It said he covered his skirt. So he went into a cave and he eased himself, went to the toilet, and David was hidden in the cave. And David's right-hand man said, why don't you kill him? He's your enemy. And David said, no, but he cut off a piece of the garment. So the next day, on the other side of the valley, he held it up and said, Saul, is this yours? I could have killed you yesterday, but I didn't. Why are you chasing me as though I'm a dead dog? And it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, is this thy voice, my son David? It got through to him. It softened him. And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. I think this was genuine weeping.
Yes.
It got through. And he said to David, you are more righteous than I am.
Wow.
For you've rewarded me for good, whereas I've rewarded you for evil. If I'd have caught you in the cave, I'd have taken your head off.
Yes.
But you spared me. And now thou hast shown this day how thou hast dealt with me. For as much as when the Lord had delivered me into your hand, the Lord delivered me into your hand, you killedst me not. For if a man find his enemy, will he let him go well away? Wherefore the Lord reward thee good for this day, for what you've done unto me. And now behold, I know well that thou shalt surely be king, and the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Swear to me now, you'll not cut my seed after me. So David swore to him. So Saul went away.
Did he pursue him after that?
Yes.
Ever?
He went away, and he thought, and the envy is a murderous spirit. You can't get rid of it.
That's why I said the root. It's like the root of bitterness. The root of...
it's strong. And so he got through and he said, oh, David, you're righteous. I know you'll be king one day. You're more righteous than me. God bless you. Will you pray that when you're king, you won't persecute my family? He went away and he thought, I've let him get away. And he persecuted him. He carried on.
Yeah.
And he ended up in witchcraft and suicide. So that's the fate. Envy burns you up. He threw the javelin at David.
Yes.
Tried to kill him. It's a murderous spirit, and that's how strong it is. Even when everyone proves that you're wrong and you confess it, The root hadn't been dealt with.
So this envy thing, everybody needs to deal with it quickly. As soon as you recognize it, it needs to be dealt with quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's really, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Because we start being envious in little things.
Yeah. Well, I know how it starts.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I criticise somebody, envy or ambition. So next time you criticise somebody,
check your motive.
Yeah. Why have you criticised them? Because they provoke you to envy, or you're ambitious. Why should they get all the praise? Why should all the people follow them? Yeah. Why should they have a big ministry? God's called me. It's envy. Criticism is envy or ambition. Well, we'll look at Jesus. He's our example. Jesus. Let's look at Psalms, because David prophesies of Jesus. Psalm 119, the longest psalm in the Bible. Many verses. This is verse 161. Princes, it's talking about powers of the air. Yeah. Princes have persecuted me without a cause. But my heart standeth in awe of thy word. So they persecuted him without a reason. The reason's always envy.
Yes.
We'll see Luke 4.
Without a cause.
It says at the end of Jesus' life that the Jews delivered Jesus for envy. It says for envy they delivered him to Pilate. It actually says it. But this is Luke 14. Luke 4.
Chapter 4, yes.
Verse 18. So here's Jesus starting his ministry. And he stands up in the synagogue. And he quotes from Isaiah, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he's anointed me, that means chosen me, to preach the gospel to the poor. Well, that's good. Why would you preach a man who's preaching the gospel to the poor? He sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Yeah. Why would you persecute a man who's come to heal the brokenhearted?
That makes sense.
To preach deliverance to the captives. These are good things. Recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. What's wrong with that? And he closed the book, and he was halfway through the sentence. Because the next half of the sentence says, and the day of vengeance of the Lord. And that's his second coming. Yeah. So we were talking before, weren't we, about prophecy?
Yes.
That even in the same verse, AD 70 it was fulfilled, but not all. We've got to wait for the second half. Yes. And here in the same verse, he stops after the comma and says, I've come to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book. He couldn't say the rest because he hadn't come to bring vengeance. He'd come to bring salvation.
That is so powerful. It's almost like when I look at our Lord, you know, God in the flesh, how he had to hold himself.
Yeah.
You imagine, you know so much, but these people, you know, they know nothing. So you have to give them a little bit of the truth, a little bit. Because I remember Matthew 16, he goes, all right, who do you say I am? Now you know I am. You know who I am. Don't tell anybody. I must first go be beaten, be crucified. And it's like, he had to always hold it a little bit, you know, like, okay, this generation will not pass before these things happen. And then next time we know everything is not going to be fulfilled now. Here, vengeance, he always stopped short.
Yeah.
Because he had to hold himself, because he had to fulfill the mission of being crucified.
Yeah.
For the new covenant to come to pass.
Yeah.
And for me, when I look at it, I'm thinking how he held himself all the way until he fulfilled the word.
Yeah.
And for me, it's so powerful. It makes me not just understand, but it gets me more excited to preach the gospel.
Sure.
Because Jesus was so... honestly, if we don't understand, it's because we're not there yet. But I understand. The Bible says we know in part.
Yeah.
But it's good for us to know how he stopped short. Because, Maurice, if without you, I wouldn't have noticed that the day of vengeance, I wouldn't have noticed that.
Well, when you read Isaiah...
Then
you see, it's halfway through a sentence, comma, and the day of vengeance. And But that's his second coming. He's
Yes.
coming with, so he had to stop short. So he closed the book. And they all looked at him because why would you stop halfway through a sentence?
Yes.
Why hasn't he read the rest of it? Everyone had read all the passage, but he said, I can't read that.
And we all read all the passages as well. We never really stop.
And it says, and the eyes of them all in the synagogue were fastened on him. Why has he closed the book? Has he had a mental block? Does he think he's finished? Why has he closed the book?
Oh, goodness.
And then he said to them, this day the scriptures fulfilled it. In other words, I am he. I'm the man. And as soon as they heard that, this is the carpenter, don't forget.
Yes.
He's only just started his ministry.
Yes.
2 weeks ago he was mending tables and chairs, and now he's saying, that's me. They couldn't handle it. Who
No.
does he think he is?
Yeah.
What good thing comes out of Nazareth?
Is it not Joseph? Is it not his brother?
He's a carpenter.
Yeah.
How can he be preaching? How can he fulfill the prophecy? And
Amazing.
he said, I know you don't recognise me.
No.
No prophets are accepted in his own country. He actually told them what they were thinking. I know no prophets accepted in his own country. Verse 28, and all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust him out of the city and led him to the brow of the hill. And God delivered him. I need to read verse 32.
They were so offended.
They were offended. They were envious. How can a carpenter?
Yes.
Because it says they looked on him.
Wow.
Verse 22, and all bear witness and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth.
Yeah.
They couldn't deny that God's Spirit was upon him. And they said, is this the carpenter's son? How can God be upon him? They recognised God was upon him, the gracious words. They couldn't deny when he spoke it that he had power. Because it says,
son.
and they were astonished at his doctrine, for his words was with power. That's verse 32. The Pharisees had doctrine, but no power with it.
Yes. Yes.
They were empty words, empty doctrines. And so they couldn't deny that his doctrine, his teaching was with power, that gracious words, but that filled them with envy. Really, they should have said, wow.
In this
is
one it
God's
says
man.
authority. So power and authority, they work together.
Yes.
In that sense, because he had authority. He knew what he was talking about. He was confident. And that, instead of people say, wow.
They can't deny it. So the only thing they could do is persecute you. So they said, away with him, let's take him to the brow of hell and throw him over.
That is...
Because he's a thorn in our flesh. Yeah. He's a carpenter. We're scribes and Pharisees. We've been teaching people for 20, 30, 40 years. Here's this young whippersnapper, just been a carpenter. He's more gracious. He carries more power and more authority than us. And people don't like that.
Do you think that can happen in a different way today, whereby we reject the word of Christ?
Sure.
Because it's painful for us. It pierces our hearts. It makes us uncomfortable.
It's with power.
And then we hide behind some kind of doctrines and everything because we rather hide because that's our security. Yeah. This one, his word is too difficult. Like in Luke 6, they said, who can stand this?
And it shakes the boat.
And they left him.
Yeah. So I'm going to look at the early church now because this is applicable to us. People could say, well, that was the Old Testament and that was Jesus' ministry. But the Acts of the Apostles is us. So Acts 13. Look for the word envy. Acts 13. Verse 42.
This is, for me, it's a good study for the people watching. That you can do your own homeworks like this because you can get concordances and find the word envy because you need to confirm what we're doing here. Yeah. And for me, it's really important. It seems basic, but it's good to put an emphasis on that.
Basic is good. Complicated is bad.
Yeah.
The gospel is simple. Jesus' teaching is simple. We just need the keys and look at the root. And the words, jealousy, envy, they're not the same.
Yeah, amen.
So verse 42 of
Chapter
Acts
14?
13.
Yeah, okay.
So they're preaching to the Jews, because Paul said we'll go to the Jews first, then the Gentiles. And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath day. So the Jews should have thought, wow, this is great. Even the Gentiles want to hear Paul. Now, when the congregation was broken up, many of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of God. So some did follow Paul. And the next Sabbath day, almost the whole city came to hear the word of God. All the Gentiles came, the whole city. But when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy. The multitudes don't come to hear us speak. They hide when they see us. It's like the Catholic priest. You know, they don't want him to knock at the door. What's he come to do? You know, the Catholic priest knocks at the door. You've not been at Mass. You've not.
Yes.
So they didn't. They hid from the Pharisees, but the whole city would come to there. They were filled with envy and spake against those things which were spoken by Paul, contradicting and blaspheming.
Wow.
So it says for envy, they persecuted and blasphemed him and criticised them. And then Acts 14.
Yeah.
And it came, verse 1, and it came to pass in Iconium that they went both together into the synagogue of the Jews. And so spake that a great multitude, both of the Jews and also of the Greeks, believed. But the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and made their minds evil affected towards the brethren. So a long time they stirred them up. So it was God's people again that criticised Paul. It wasn't the Gentiles. The Gentiles never persecuted Paul. It was always God's people, the Pharisees, because it was a threat to them.
Yeah.
And Acts chapter 17. Verse 2. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, to the synagogue this is, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. So he's going to God's people, opening, alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen from the dead, and that this Jesus whom I preach to you is Christ. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and one of the devout Greeks, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude. And of the chief women not a few, but the Jews which believed not moved with envy. That was a motive. Took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to all the people. Moved with envy. So this persecution, they didn't criticise Paul, they beheld Jesus' gracious words, but it provoked them to persecution.
It's spiritual.
So much of the early persecution came from God's people. So that's the study, but I'm going to ask the question like I sometimes do. Well, if persecution is part of discipleship, why are we blessed? Why does God see us as blessed when we're persecuted? You know, I don't want to see my children criticised and accused. So I've got 6 points why we're blessed when this happens. Number 1, it's our calling. So Matthew chapter 10. We're called to suffer.
Yeah.
We're called to be misunderstood. If you're peculiar, you'll get misunderstood. When we're called homosexual people queer, 50 years ago when I grew up, they called them queer. They were persecuted because they were different. We always like to persecute people who are different. So the people who were the same persecuted the people who were different. So everyone persecuted homosexuals just because they were different. Even if it wasn't a moral issue, it was just, that's how it works. So it's our call in Matthew chapter 10.
Verse 16.
And verse 16.
Yes.
So verse 10, and when he had called unto his 12 disciples, he gave them power to cast out devils, so he's commissioning them, and he's telling them how to go. And verse 16, Jesus says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Well, how do sheep go on in the midst of wolves? They're in danger, aren't they? Some of them will be killed. The wolves will kill them. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. What a contradiction. As cunning as Satan, because they're the a serpent. A serpent is a devil.
Yes.
So be as wise as cunning as Satan and as gentle as the dove. Be gentle as the Holy Ghost.
Holy Spirit, yes.
So what a contradiction. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils and scourge you in their synagogues, not in the magistrates' courts, not in Caesar's palace. They'll persecute you in the synagogues.
And they did that to Paul in the scriptures that you just read. They beat Paul and Silas.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the book
And
of
ye
Acts.
shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, as a testimony against you. Verse 21, the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, the father the child, the children shall raise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Wow. And you'll be hated of all men for my sake. But he that endures to the end shall be saved. And when they persecute you in the city, flee unto another. For verily I say unto you, you shall have not gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. So it's talking to Israel, but it's applicable to us. Same principles. So it's our calling, that's our commission. And 1 Peter chapter 2. Peter chapter 2, verse 21. I'll read from verse 19. This is Peter encouraging the church. This is the man who ran away from suffering, who denied Jesus and wouldn't. Jesus says, when you're converted, strengthen the brethren. So now he's strengthening us. He's saying, look, I ran away from persecution, but I realise it's part of the commission. This is thankworthy if a man for conscience sake towards God endure grief, suffering wrongfully. What glory is it if when you're buffeted for your faults, you take it patiently? So if you're persecuted because you've done mistakes, wrong, take it. But if you do well and suffer for it, and take it patiently, it's acceptable to God. For even hereunto were you called. So that's our calling. That's the number one. This is the calling of a disciple. Even you were called because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that we should follow his steps. So, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again, when he suffered he threatened not, but committed it to himself him that judgeth righteously. What an encouragement he's trying to give us. It's all right, you're following Jesus. So arm yourself with that mind.
So this is we're not telling people here to go look for suffering. It will come as a result of bearing fruit, as a result of living righteously.
We don't look for it. We don't cause it deliberately. We've not got a persecution complex where people are persecuted. We don't look for it. We don't want it. But it's inevitable.
But we don't want to go too far as trying to do everything possible for that not to happen to us.
We don't try and welcome it. We don't try and resist it. We just do what we do. We preach the truth. And
that's it.
We might go a long time where people bless us. We may go through a lot of persecution. We're not worried what happens. That's not our problem. Our problem is preach the truth in season, out of season. Don't compromise. Tell what Jesus said. And
don't worry about the consequences.
Whatever happens.
God will take care of the consequences.
It's not our business, is it?
Absolutely, yes.
We just preach the truth. The trouble is we look, what if? What if? There's no what if with God.
Because, the reason I'm saying it's just, I know that a lot of thoughts come into my mind, but I know there's those hesitations, the what if this and what if that. And And that slows us down and makes us confused a little bit.
Yeah,
So we're not clear in the mission.
Yeah.
So we just know that we have an audience of one, God. He's watching us. If we're faithful and steadfast, preach in season, out of season, just do what you need to do.
Just
and
do it.
He will take care of the circumstances.
Yeah. And he may protect us all our life, or he may not. It's not our business, is it? God knows what we're called to. Paul was called to much suffering. The other apostles weren't called to as much. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not our business.
Amen.
So number one, it's our calling.
Yeah.
Number two, we'll reign with Christ. It's a promise. 2 Timothy 2,
Timothy, yes.
verse 12.
We like that part, to reign with Him.
Yes.
We just don't like the suffering part.
We don't like the conditions for reigning.
Yes.
But this is the training for reigning.
Yeah.
So part of the training, my father was a commando in the last war. So the training for commando was suffering. They had to go a route march, 20 miles with a full kit on, speed march. One man fainted on the way and they left him dead. He couldn't handle it. They crawled under wires. There were wires, 2 foot off the ground. They had to crawl under them, and they strapped it with live bullets. When they went so far on the training, if you pop your head up, it wasn't a dummy bullet; it would get a live bullet. They had to real conditions for warfare, so it was tough training. Not any thousands, applied for a parachute. Only a few got through because the training's so tough. So we're 2 Timothy 2 verse 12.
Verse 12, yeah. I like
Paul
this.
said, verse 10, therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake, for the bride of Christ, that they may obtain the salvation which is in Christ through eternal glory. It's a faithful saying, but if we were dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he'll deny us. If we suffer with him, we'll reign with him. So if you won't suffer, you won't reign. It seems clear to me. So it's our calling. The promises will reign with Christ. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. It's the same thing. Number 3, it fashions our character. It builds our opposition, builds your character. Yeah. If you want strong muscles, Joseph, it's no point getting a bag of feathers and doing your press-ups. It won't build muscles. You have to have weights, and the heavier weights, the bigger the muscles. So the pressure of the weight is actually good. It builds the muscles. And so pressure, persecution, criticism, it actually strengthens and builds your character. Yeah. It's very important. So 1 Peter 4:12.
See, if we're in tune with God, and if we're doing this for God's sake, it will even strengthen your resolve.
It builds our character.
Because persecution should prove to you that you're doing something.
It makes us a man of our word. It gives us backbone.
Yes.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is come to test you, as though something strange has happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
1 Peter 4:12, as though something... But rejoice, insomuch as you are partakers of Christ's sufferings. We partake of Christ's suffering. Christians say, they would think that was blasphemy. Yeah. Well, Christ suffered, so we don't have to.
Yes.
But Paul says you're a partaker of Christ's sufferings. That when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad with exceeding joy. So it proves our calling. It builds our character. And turn over the page, chapter 5, verse 10. We want to be perfect. We want to be established. Well, Peter gives us benediction. Yeah. But the God of all grace who has called us unto his eternal glory by Jesus Christ, after you have suffered a while, make you perfect. Yeah. How can we be perfected without this process? Make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. So you can't be strengthened, you can't be mature, you can't be settled and perfect without suffering a while. Yes. It's telling us the process.
Yes.
So it fashions our character and it proves our calling. Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12, verse 10. He's talking about our fathers. For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, because they wanted good children. So our fathers disciplined us for their pleasure, so we're not rebellious children. But God, for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. He chastises us that we may be like him and not like the world, partakers of his holiness. Now, no chastening for the present seems to be joyous, but grievous. He's saying, look, it's not nice. Suffering isn't nice. Criticism isn't nice. Persecution's not nice. He said it's grievous. Nevertheless, afterwards it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness. You learn how to live a right life unto those that are exercised thereby. And then he gives us an exhortation. Lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees. You know, come on, pull your socks up.
Yeah.
You've not resisted unto death. You know, nobody's
Bloodshed.
chopping your head off because you're a Christian. You know, don't feel sorry for yourself. Pull your socks up, lift up the hands and the feeble knees. Be strong.
Yes.
So it fashions our character, it proves our calling. Number 4, it's a statement to Satan. And we're of use to God. Job chapter 1. How many people could God boast to Satan and say, he loves me and hates you? And whatever happens, whatever he goes through, suffering, pain, persecution, sickness,
He'll love me.
He'll love me and he won't curse me. So Job, that's just before Psalm. Job chapter 1, verse 8. God was able to boast about this man.
Yeah.
Can God boast to you? Can God boast about you to Satan and say, this man, if he goes through trials, if he goes through suffering, he will still love me. He will still keep his integrity. And the Lord said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. He loves me and he hates you. And
Amen.
the battle goes on. And God was vindicated in the end. It's about God being vindicated. It's not about Job.
No.
It's not. He wasn't
That's funny,
vindicated.
isn't it?
God was vindicated because God won the argument with Satan.
And that's funny. That's so good for you to say that, because we always want to insert ourselves. We always think it's about us.
I've won the battle. Job didn't win the battle. It was God. God was vindicated.
Yes.
Job vindicated God.
Yeah.
And God's looking for people who will vindicate God. So he gets the glory, not us.
Amen to that. Amen.
And chapter 2, verse 3. Again he recommends him after he's lost everything. And the Lord said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that fears God, escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. He doesn't know why it's without a cause. He knows he's righteous, and yet he's being persecuted, and yet he will not charge me with folly. Even though his wife said, well, get out of it, just curse God and die. You're in too much pain. He wouldn't do it.
No.
So it builds our character. It's a statement to Satan, and we're of use to God. God can use us.
Yeah.
Number 5, when you go through persecution, it proves who's your father, who's your real father, and which seed you're of.
Yes.
Galatians 4. You'll see why I've said that when we look at it. Galatians 4, verse 22. Because it's talking about Jacob and Esau, and one hated the other. Verse 22. For it's written that Abraham had 2 sons, the one by a bondwoman and the other by a free. Sorry, Ishmael, I said Jacob and Esau. It's Ishmael and Isaac. But he who was after the bondwoman was born after the flesh. But he of the free woman was by promise, which things are an allegory, they're an illustration. For these two are the two covenants.
Yes.
The one from Mount Sinai, which tendeth to bondage. So he's saying the law, the first covenant, tendeth to bondage, which is Hagar. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is with her children. But the Jerusalem which is above is free, which is the mother of us all.
Yes.
For it is written, Rejoice thou barren that bearest not, break forth, cry thou that travailest not, for the desolate has many more children than she which has a husband. Now we, this is the point, now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. We're in the new covenant.
Yes.
We're the children of promise. But as then he which was born after the flesh persecutes him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now.
Yes.
So it proves who's your father, what seed you're from. Are you from the flesh or the spirit? So the flesh will always persecute the spirit. So when you're in the spirit, the Christians, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, who are in the flesh, they have the law. They will use the law, the Bible, to persecute you. Yes. We have a law, you said it, and by our law he ought to die. So they use the Bible because they have the flesh, not the spirit. So the flesh persecutes the spirit, and the spirit the flesh.
Amen.
And Revelation 12, it's an unchanging principle. The Christians in the flesh will persecute the Christians in the spirit. Revelation chapter 12. Verse 13, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. The woman is always the bride of Christ.
Yeah. Okay.
God's people. So the dragon persecuted the woman. The devil always wants to persecute the bride of Christ. So when you persecute the bride of Christ, you've got the spirit of Satan.
Yes.
So the Pharisees, Jesus said to them, your father is the devil.
You want to kill me?
But we're circumcised, we're Abraham's children. He said, no, you're not. Abraham rejoiced to see my day.
Yes.
So therefore, if you're persecuting me, you're showing that he was a murderer from the beginning, the devil. So you've got that envy, that spirit of murder in you, and you're trying to persecute me. So it shows who's your real father. Your father isn't the one who says, you can say God's my father, but if you're trying to persecute Christians who are in the spirit, your father is the devil.
And it's funny how Jesus was so bold with these people.
Well,
literally tell him your father is of the devil and you're going to kill me. And it's like,
it's strong. Well, imagine saying that to Christians today, Joseph.
So
imagine saying to Christians who are persecuting the righteous one, the ones who stand for truth. Fancy Christians in the flesh persecuting them and saying to them, your father is the devil. They say, we're saved, we're born again. Well, why don't you love righteous people? Why don't you love people who are speaking the truth? Why are you persecuting them? Because you've got the wrong father. Your father is manifest in your behaviour.
Yes. That's good. Yes.
I'll say it again. Your father is manifested in your behaviour. If you're persecuting righteous people, you prove who your father is. It's not God.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you say. You're full of envy. It's the spirit of Jezebel wanting to kill the man who had the vineyard.
That's so powerful, because even when he got Paul at the Emmaus Road, no, not the Emmaus Road, at the Damascus Road, he said, why are you persecuting me? Because he was persecuting the children of Israel, the children, the Christians who were preaching the gospel. Jesus took it personal.
Yeah. Because
the life of Jesus was in them as well.
Yeah, and he thought he was serving God.
Wow.
He said, I'm a Pharisee, I know the Lord. He said, I had a zeal for God, but without knowledge. But he had the spirit of Satan. Paul must have had the spirit of Satan. Why would he kill Stephen, a righteous man?
Wow.
He changed fathers, didn't he?
Yes, yes, yes. That's a divine switch. Thank
It-
God for.
It sounds hard, but
Yes.
he had the spirit of Satan, a murderer
Yeah.
from the beginning,
Yeah.
and he's murdering Christians, putting them in prison. But it's a very strong thing to say to modern Christians. But it must be true, the principle. If you persecuting righteous people, you have the wrong spirit.
And you're persecuting Jesus himself.
Well, when I've just thought, when the disciples saw somebody not walking, shall we bring fire
Yeah,
down from
in
heaven?
John.
He says, you don't know what spirit you're of. That's the spirit of murder. You want to kill them. I
Yes.
came to save
I
them.
came to save them, not to kill. Oh my goodness.
So
Yes.
they had the spirit of Satan.
Yeah.
When Paul said, you're not going to the cross, which spirit was
Yeah.
it? It wasn't the Holy Spirit.
No. No.
It was Peter who was influenced
Peter,
by
yes.
Satan.
Yes.
So why are we blessed when it happens? Well, it's our calling.
Mm-hmm.
We'll reign with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It fashions our character, proves our calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a statement to Satan God
Yes.
could use us.
Mm-hmm.
It proves whose father we are
Yes.
because
yes.
we manifest it.
Mm-hmm.
And number 6, the last one, and we don't have to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
the beatitude will inherit the kingdom. Blessed are you when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake. You're living a
Yes.
right life.
Mm-hmm.
People see God's favour on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is the coming kingdom.
Yes.
So that's the promise. So I finished the study,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm reading Corinthians,
2 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians to finish. This is only part of the study. The second beatitude, blessed are you when you're persecuted for my name's sake, which is different.
I don't know why many people don't count that last one.
They think it's all the same one. It's different.
Yeah, they don't. There's such a big distinction, honestly. Yeah.
I'll let them into a secret.
Yes.
It's the only beatitude
Yeah.
with instruction.
Yes.
All the
Yes.
statements, blessed are the pure in heart, they shall. This one's got, the first one today has no instruction.
No.
The second one next week, it has instructions. It tells us what to do.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's interesting. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 Corinthians chapter 4,
Mm-hmm.
verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Paul says, we have this treasure in earthen vessels, flesh and blood, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not us.
Mm-hmm.
We are troubled on every side,
Every side.
but we're not distressed.
Mm-hmm.
We're perplexed. What's going on? We're being persecuted, but we're not in despair.
Mm-hmm.
We're persecuted,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not forsaken. We're cast down, but we're not destroyed. Paul said, but through it the Lord delivered me all.
Mm-hmm.
Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus. I've never heard preachers preach on that. Bearing in our body the dying of the Lord Jesus. What does that mean? They skirt over it. They don't want to
Yes.
preach that.
Yes.
That the life also of Jesus may be manifest in our bodies.
Yes.
If we're not dying that life, we can't live with Christ.
Yes.
For we which live are always delivered unto death for Jesus' sake, that the life
Yes.
of Jesus may be made manifest in our mortal flesh. So then death worketh in us, but life in you.
In you.
We having the same spirit of faith, according as it is written, I believed, and
So
therefore I've
speak.
spoken.
Hallelujah.
We also believe and speak,
Yes.
knowing that he which raised up the Lord Jesus shall raise us up also by Jesus, and shall present us with you.
Mm-hmm.
For all things are for your sakes,
Yes.
that the abundance of grace might through the thanksgiving of many redound to the glory of God.
Amen.
For which cause we faint not. We faint not.
We don't
But
lose
though
heart.
our inward man perish, our outward man perish, our inward man is renewed, strengthened day by day. For our light affliction.
Light affliction. After all this.
So Paul said, I'm shipwrecked, I'm stone left for dead, I've been beaten 3 times with 49 stripes, I was 3 days in the deep, in the ocean, and he said, my light afflictions. He said it's all right, because he's comparing it with what's ahead. For the light afflictions, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. That's the key. Let's leave that with the people as we go.
Yeah. So it's really having the end in sight. bit like in Hebrews 12.
Yes.
Jesus, for the joy set before him, endured the cross. It's always having that inside that whatever we're going through, these light afflictions,
it's temporal. It's just, it's
Amen.
passing.
Amen.
It'll end. The persecution will end.
Amen.
But what we don't see, what we're working for, is eternal. Jesus set his face like a flint for the joy that was before him. He didn't enjoy the suffering. He said he endured the suffering.
Yeah.
We don't enjoy it, but we endure it and we rejoice.
Amen.
He said, I'm rejoicing in infirmities, in persecution, because I know when I run the race, I've got the prize of the high calling. Paul said at the end of his life, I've not been disobedient.
Yes.
I know there's a crown of life waiting for me.
Yes.
Because I've run the race, I've finished it. I've been through all the trials, all the persecutions, and I've glorified God.
And he was called for that.
So I would like to have that testimony, Joseph.
I know. Let's continue to preach the gospel.
Yeah.
Amen. Or if you want to pray, just pray for this. This has just been. It's an encouragement, Maurice. It's an encouragement. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm encouraged. We're not miserable because of this. We're the happiest people on earth. Yeah. We know the end of the story.
Yes.
We know there's joy unspeakable, full of glory for those that are willing to suffer with Christ.
Amen.
So, Father. This is not a sad message. This is not a negative message, Lord. This is a positive one because we're following a positive Saviour. We're following a man who was willing to set his face like a flint, endure the afflictions, endure the criticism of God's very people, willing to suffer physically, mentally, spiritually, that he may bring many sons into glory. And we've read today, Lord, that he set the example that we should follow in his footsteps. Arm yourself with this mind to suffer as Christ has also suffered for us in the flesh. Father, make us strong. We don't want to be fair weather sailors. We want to go through the storms. We don't want to turn back when adversity comes. We want to go through. And I pray, Lord, in these dark days, even now when we're in this corona and many Christians are fearful and panicking and don't know what to do and wanting to escape Jesus to come in the night, take them all away and get them out of the pain. Lord, it's not going to happen. We have to go through much more yet. And so I pray that you'll strengthen us and give us a joy, Lord, that we're happy, Lord, to follow in your footsteps. And these great saints who's been before us, who've been martyred, been stoned, been sawn asunder, been put in caves and persecuted. Lord, we have many examples to follow. Help us, Lord, to be men of God and women of God in these last days. I ask it that you'll strengthen everyone by the power of the Holy Ghost. Hallelujah. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Don't forget next week, the second part of the persecution.
Absolutely. Thank you.